Have you ever wondered why some people have 2 or even 3 jobs and can barely make it through with some basic modern comforts? Why your paycheck just doesn't stretch as far as it should? And why everything, from groceries to rent, feels way more expensive more rapidly in recent times? Whether you've noticed it or not, this is commonly called inflation. It's quietly shrinking your buying power, and it's hitting everyone. Today, we'll break down how inflation is draining your wallet, why it's a bigger deal than the media and the political class tell you to feel about it, and how the wealthy are turning it into profit, while the young, despite how prepared they are, struggle to keep up. But first,
this is the Wealth Explorer, where we focus on cultivating the right mindset and equipping you with the knowledge to build lasting wealth. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
This topic has been quite hot for the past 4 years. Yet, it seems like many people have no clue of what this term really means. Inflation is like the sneaky erosion of a sandcastle at the beach. You're building something, let's say your savings, your purchasing power for that car, future studies, or a summer trip. But as inflation continues creeping up, the tide, in this case rising prices, keeps eating away at the foundation. You try to rebuild by working more, but if you've ever seen a rising tide, the tide just keeps creeping in faster than you can stack the sand. Let's dive into the hidden truths of inflation. Here are some relatable situations for context. Groceries. Staple foods such as milk or eggs cost more than they did last year, and generally speaking, so it's been year after year. But salaries haven't necessarily gone up to match the rise in prices, and there's eventually a point in which you need to measure your expenses based on the level of cruelty in which the egg-laying hens lived, or how many unpronounceable chemicals do you want in your breakfast. Rent increases faster than wages in most cities. Unless they want to squat at their friend's or parents' place indefinitely, people spend a larger chunk of their income on housing, leaving less for other essentials or savings as time goes by. What about all these videos of others living like nobility in spectacular mansions and apartments? Something must be wrong here, right? We'll sure talk about this another time. So what's inflation? It's the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services rises, leading to a fall in what you can buy over time for any given amount of money. Inflation is commonly presented as a universal, simplified percentage, for ease of understanding. This is typically based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which aggregates a basket of goods and services that may not represent every household's actual spending pattern. It's influenced by factors like increased consumer demand, rising production costs, but also the expansion of the money supply. While the media, mainstream influencers, and news channels, and your favorite politicians often focus on immediate causes like supply chain disruptions or increased consumer spending, less attention is given to the role of central banks, management or mismanagement of the government budget and monetary policy. Actions around government interest rates and quantitative easing increase the money supply, which by increasing the amount to banknotes in the system without the value that should support them, will make the circulating currency less valuable and contribute to inflation over time. Inflation indicators are similar all over the world. In the US, CPI is calculated by looking at a basket of goods and services that an average household would buy, with different weights and, curiously, items that not only inflate, but also strongly deflate. This basket may not fully reflect the spending habits of different income groups. For example, lower-income households spend a higher proportion on staple foods, cheap energy, and rent, while wealthier households may spend more on state-of-the-art subsidized items and other that are impacted very differently by the CPI. Core inflation, which excludes volatile items like food and energy, often gives a distorted picture for lower-income households who spend a lot on these categories. Adding into the mix cheaper products and products with decreasing demand as well as collapsing prices lowers the index. This is a sneaky way in which inflation is downplayed. Despite this indicator and other similar ones are, or should be, our best ally to measure how much juice is left in our cash, or, for example, how costly it'd be to take on a new enterprise and compare our situation with our peers abroad. The elements in the index are taken out, put in, and adjusted in their proportions as often as necessary, so that they can accommodate a narrative, usually to paint a brighter image than what is actually going on for the average of society. The wealthy spend a smaller portion of their income on essentials like food and rent. So when these prices go up, it's an inconvenience for them as well. But for lower-income households, it can be devastating because a larger share of their income goes to these essentials. The wealthier portion of population also tend to hold assets like company stocks, real estate, and businesses, which often increase in value during inflationary periods, while the working class primarily holds cash, which loses value. Let me know in the comments if you want to know more about that. Western governments, large investment funds, and many corporations take on huge debt, which can be devalued over time due to inflation. Why? Inflation erodes the real value of debt. Inflation effectively reduces the amount you owe because the money you repay is worth less. A good question would be whether there's a correlation between the decision to create a debt-fueled inflationary economy and the amount of loans made, but that's another whole can of worms. What about hyperinflation? Let's look at the late Roman Empire that used precious metals for their currency, but in order to cover their debt, they reduced the amount of gold significantly, and in the case of silver in the coins, they took it almost to no silver coins, and they had to replace their gold coins more than once to return to a pure gold standard. Also, in the 1920s Germany, or Weimar Republic, foreign debt was paid with new money which facilitated the relief of the debt, but brought mayhem to the population as the mark eventually lost over 99% of its value. A debt economy benefits those who borrow at large scales, usually wealthy entities or the government, but harms those living paycheck to paycheck, especially because paychecks never follow the pace with inflation. It's on the ultra-wealthy's favor to be part of a system where wage stagnation for the working class allows them to maximize profits. Even with so-called rising costs, many companies pass these costs onto consumers while maintaining or increasing executive compensation, and this leads to widening income inequality. But let's say this is not core inflation. Comment if you want to know more about what's known as price gouging. The deeper truth. Inflation is a transfer mechanism. Yep, it sounds painful, but let's not lose ourselves in the gut-wrenching truth. Inflation subtly transfers wealth from the socioeconomic class that doesn't hold any appreciating assets, like anyone who's in the working class and self-employed people, to those holding real assets. Governments use this inflation as a hidden form of extra taxation and often fight inflation by mechanisms that usually slow down the economy and can lead to job losses, affecting the working class most. Meanwhile, policies like stimulus spending, i.e. subsidies, can devalue savings since this money has to come from somewhere, again harming those with less capital, the middle and lower classes, while indirectly benefiting the wealthy, who hold appreciating assets and can benefit from these same funds to maintain the value of their assets, as it would be possible to keep throwing money at them. To sum up the message, inflation isn't just about rising prices, it's about who actually pays the price and who benefits from the way the economic system is structured. Is it the rich, the ones on welfare, investors living abroad? Surely the elites. So it's important to plan ahead. We're growing used to a constant loss of value, and whether it's small or large, it's not a good thing to know, at which rate whatever you're considering valuable in your wallet and bank account will tend to be totally worthless. The wealthy can ride the tide, but pretty much everyone else are left to rebuild their sandcastles again and again, often without enough resources to keep up or stay ahead of this tide as it turns into a tsunami. This is the Wealth Explorer, where we focus on cultivating the right mindset and equipping you with the knowledge to build lasting wealth. See you in the next journey.